Bhautik. Okay, thanks Bhautik for joining this demo of Citrix Zenab and Gen Desktop 7.15. Let me quickly share my screen. Here we go. So, what is your understanding about Citrix? Like you are very like experienced resource, right, for Citrix virtualization. So, you want some highlights? You want to highlight something on Citrix part? What is your understanding? What is your thought process, Bhautik? Over to you.
Actually, I would like to learn more about Citrix and F7X and the VDI.
Okay, okay. Yeah, really great. So actually, that's the purpose of this, this session. And I want to you walk through from starting how what is the Citrix virtualization and what is the framework, what is the fundamentals, and how you can virtualize your application environment like application virtualization. How can you achieve that? And apart from that, how you can do virtualization of your desktop through Citrix and desktop technologies. Okay, so uh, I'm not going to talk about the legacy, the journey of the Citrix in this demo, but yes, I will highlight some, the versioning concept, right? How it evolved, right? So, uh, Citrix, if you talk about the Citrix product, they are in the market since 90s, right? And they have a lot of versions of the Citrix. We talk about Citrix 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x, and that was like for Zenep 6.5 was the last version about it in the application virtualization, right, from the Citrix. And if you talk about uh, VDI virtualization or desktop virtualization, so Citrix Zen Desktop 5.6, 7.0, and after that, the versions there is like 7x. And finally, what Citrix did actually, their Citrix Zenith environment was working on IMA concept, independent management computing, and the Zen Desktop environment was working on FMA. You heard about FMA, right? So flex cost management architecture. So completely what Citrix did about it, they combined both technologies like Xanap and Zen Desktop together to make it Citrix Xanap and Zen Desktop 7x onwards, right? So the LTSR version they released, Citrix Xanap and Zen Desktop 7.6, was was like the version which was very stable LTSR version from the Citrix systems, and customers use a lot. And after that, they release a lot of versions each quarter. They release their version of Citrix Zenith and Gen Desktop like 7.7, 7.8 kind of onwards, and finally the last version they will release 7.18. But before that, the stable and the LTSR version was Citrix Zenith and Gen Desktop 7.15. Do you know about LTSR, my dear friend, by the way?
Yeah, LTSR is the new latest version, 7.15.
Yeah, so LTSR, yeah, you're right actually. So let me just explain it again. So LTSR is like long-term service support kind of thing, right? So if you are using version X and you are upgrading your Citrix infrastructure from version X to Y, you need not to pay anything as your LTSR customer, right? Because you already have taken license for your LTSR version. So that's the funda behind business of Citrix licensing. Okay, so this flex cost management architecture. So this is kind of, you can say this is a framework, and you can also compare with this Citrix legacy IMA concept, right? And so IMA was like kind of protocol, kind of service, you can say, in which there was DLL files. So IMA was managing the show for Citrix Zenith environment, right? Application publishing and everything. But now when it get combined all together from like in Zenith and Gen Desktop, so now the new architecture, what Citrix was earlier using Bautic like FMA. They have taken the same concept for their Citrix Zenith Engine Desktop 7.15 LTSR, or you say any version of 7X, Citrix. So how you so just you can see the on the screen, right? So how will you differentiate Zenith and Gen Desktop? Uh, do you have idea about that? What is the difference between Zenith and Gen Desktop actually?
Citrix,
You
you
wanna
mean Citrix Xanap farm?
Right, right. How we'll differentiate? You can see my screen, right, Bartek?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yeah. So how will you differentiate? Like Janap is there, and left hand side Janap is there, right hand side Gen Desktop. Can you differentiate it?
Yeah, so Xanap
For,
is basically is a group of servers that can be combination of web interface servers where the website will allow the user to connect into the Xanap license server and a Xanap server itself.
mm-hmm. And okay. So finally, you are telling like you are going to achieve application publishing, like application virtualization for Zenith, right? Okay.
Yes,
What about
correct.
Gen Desktop? What about Gen Desktop? For your help, slide is in front of you. You can also read it if you are not sure about the definition wise. For your help,
Yeah,
slide.
desktop is a Windows app and desktop virtualization. It delivers the virtual Windows desktop with the best cost, performance, and security for every business need.
Mhm. Yeah, right. So in Zenap, absolutely, you're right. Actually, so what we're doing in this Zenap and Gen Desktop? Actually, we are using Windows servers. Even now, in the Citrix has started supporting Linux operating system as well, along with Windows thing, right? So what you can do, you can install, you can create your Citrix infrastructure, right? In which you require DDC, license server, right? Your storefront, and you talk about your database, right? Your site database, your monitoring database, your logging database, right? So you go for your BDA. So all those sort of combination, you can deliver virtualized application from Zenith environment, right? So what you are doing actually, you are virtualizing Windows servers capabilities to publish your application within the server, and end user can access those applications by by through storefront, or they if they are coming from internet, from internet directly, they can use Citrix NetScaler Access Gateway, right? In the same way, in Gen Desktop, users are going to get desktop as a virtualized desktop, right? And that will be the desktop OS. You take example of Windows 10, Windows 7, 8. So the latest one is the Windows 10, which is very common in in customers environment. Is very common Windows 10 and very stable version actually. So what you can do, you can publish your desktop, and inside the desktop, you can install your core application, your important application within the VDI. So VDI is more stable, if you compare to Genep. And just consider this COVID-19 scenario, Bhatik, my dear friend. So COVID-19, people are work from home, right? Same like you. So if you remember correctly, when you did you visit your office last time, uh, my dear friend? If you remember,
Yeah, I believe too much before.
oh my God, just like 2 months. So you are working from home, and that is possible, by your Citrix VDI, Citrix virtualization, right? You're sitting at home, you're logging into your Citrix NetScaler Access Gateway, you're launching a VDI, and you're managing your Citrix infrastructure from end to end, and you're supporting your customers, right? Your end user customers remotely. So that is the flavor, that the USP you are going to get from Citrix virtualization, Xamarin and Desktop. Okay, agreed, my dear friend.
Yeah, great.
So right. So coming to, you can also see here is a comparison, right? Citrix Xenap 6.5 and before, and that was working on actually IMA, IMA architecture. And if we talk about Citrix Zen Desktop, Citrix Zen Desktop and 7X environment, those are working on FMA architecture. So IMA is like go, 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 goodbye. So it's kind of EOL actually, end of life. And FMA architecture is managing all the show. Okay, coming to this one actually, how our old environment, you talk about Citrix, you can see the left hand side, my dear friend, if you can see in the left hand side, right? So this is the Citrix ZenF 6.5, right? If you remember, you are managing the migration project. You handle very well, right, Bautik? You migrated a lot of servers from 6.5, Citrix 6, ZenF 6.5 to Citrix ZenF and Desktop 7X version, right? So the migration work, what you managed, so that work, that environment was like there was, end user was using receiver, or you talk about Citrix Online plugin. I'm talking about the legacy client of Citrix, right? And now Citrix Receiver and Citrix Workspace is the latest version of the client, which is released by Citrix. So the web interface, right? Now, if you talk about the older version of Citrix 6.5, storefront was not there, right? So we were using the Citrix web interface, right? So it is now replaced by Citrix storefront in the newer version, right? And so same thing, like you have Zenith controllers in 6.5, and IMA was the the framework, or you can say service or protocol used to manage the application publish virtualization. Provisioning services were there. There was database. There was ZenF controllers. You talk about your uh, the data collector, zone data collector, and so worker group concept was there, my dear friend Bhautik. Worker group, like you can club multiple ZenF servers, right, in a one group. Okay, can you hear me? You're very silent, man.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm listening to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bhautik. So, and the monitoring part was managed by Citrix at site in 6.5. And if you talk about the legacy version of Citrix Zen Desktop 5.6, it was also working on FMA only, right? So it has a delivery controller, and you can call it as DDC, like Citrix Desktop Delivery Controller and Citrix Studio. So you are very familiar about the Citrix Studio nowadays, right, Bharti?
Yes, correct.
So what is the use of this Citrix Studio, my dear friend? What is the use of Citrix Studio actually?
We can manage the applications, servers and users.
Ah, right. You got it. Correct. Yeah. So in the back end, database was there, and there was like desktop OS. So these 5.6 version was like era of, you can say, Windows XP, Windows 7. So that's a very old version, right? So Windows XP and the sort of old versions, right? So coming to this is the like older infrastructure for Citrix. Coming to this, how Citrix integrated this IMA old one so to FMA means now you have one architecture of FMA in which you are going to manage your Citrix Zenith Engine desktop both, right? So you can you can manage through Citrix Studio. So if you talk about the component, FMA got integrated here, right? So you have client, Citrix receiver, or Citrix workspace, and that is going to connect your storefront. So storefront is now, it is like replace the Citrix web interface server, right? You have the component wise, you talk about DDC, like Citrix delivery controller. You have Citrix, your backend database, SQL database, you can say, and you have provisioning services, the PBS, to manage your images for your for your VDI environment, or for your ZenF environment, right? So Citrix Studio to manage the as a management console to manage your all routine daily work on within your Citrix infrastructure or Citrix end user support, right? And Citrix Director replaced Citrix Edge site. If you remember, you can recall in previous slide, there was Citrix Edge site, right? That was monitoring Citrix Xanap 6.5 environment. That was not very, reliable, monitoring tool in Citrix running, and that got replaced by Citrix Director. So, have you ever worked on Citrix Director, Notik? What is your experience?
Yeah, I have worked on Citrix Director.
Mhm. So how Citrix is giving benefit as a Citrix administrator, right? As a like you are Citrix architect or Citrix, the senior resource, how it is giving benefit to you or to your operation team. You want to highlight on that part? You want to throw some light on that?
Yeah, it helps me a lot as a Citrix admin. I am
Ah,
I'm pretty much very involved in Zenap and Zen desktop. Also, I'm handling the VDIs for the LATAM. So that's
mhm.
all I'm working now.
Oh, great, great, great. Sounds good. So Citrix Directory is a like very powerful monitoring tool if you compare with Citrix X5. Of course, I agree with you, Bhautik. I agreed with you, sir. Right. So coming to Citrix Zenap 7.15, so actually Citrix has a lot of licensing kind of type actually. Let me uh, okay, so let me open my whiteboard for you. So can you see my whiteboard?
Yeah, I can see your whiteboard.
So I'm going to talk about the licensing actually of Citrix. That is really very, every administrator, Citrix administrator should know. Uh, so if you talk about the Citrix licensing, right? So there are three type of licensing. Okay, that's device based. Okay, first one is like device based. Second one is like you can say user based, right? And third one is like concurrent. So are you familiar about these licensing, my dear friend?
Yeah, I'm familiar with this.
Right, right. So device-based licensing is there, user-based licensing is there. Mostly, I've seen companies are using concurrent licensing, right? Because they want, optimum utilization of their licensing, irrespective of their VDI or Zenith. But yes, it depends upon the environment. We have like pool desktop, or we have shared desktop, so or we have like a dedicated, uh, dedicated or one-to-one VDI environment. So it depends altogether, right? How uh, how you are, going to manage your Citrix infrastructure licensing part, right? Okay. So there are three versions of Citrix 7X. You go for like standard, advanced, standard edition. You have enterprise edition, and you go for platinum. So in platinum, you are going to get all the features of Citrix technologies, the virtualization, right? So uh, likewise, these are the versions available, my dear friend, and uh, now SDX has been introduced by Citrix, like for better performance for end users, and uh, HTML5 was also introduced by Citrix. So by using that, user can access their application, their BGI, and having better performance and better look and feel good for end user customer, right? So can you tell me what protocol the Citrix is using, at the end user? Do you remember that, Karthik?
Can you repeat again the question?
What is the protocol it has been used by the Citrix at the end user, at the Citrix receiver level, client side? And it's very famous actually. protocol I'm talking about.
Protocol in Citrix receiver, you said?
Yeah, Citrix client side. Remember ICA.
Independent ICA, independent computing architecture.
Right, right. Sounds good. So ICA, which works on port number 1494, right? And it's like port. It is like patent port for the Citrix, and it is really, really running since last ages actually, and it is really very powerful. So if you talk about the ICA, so it's like the client side. It is doing all the communication, connecting to your Citrix environment, connecting to your DDC or your Citrix environment, connecting to your storefront, right? Doing authentication, all those sort of things through by the help of Citrix, ICA file. So yeah, okay. So the last topic, what we are going to I'm going to cover here in the session, the logon process, right? The logon process of Citrix, like how user is logging into the storefront and is the user is launching application or BTI, right? And the user uh, accessing their applications, BTI. So this is the process actually, Bhautik. If you talk about you talk about so user is logging into the storefront, or user is providing user ID and password, right? And it is get authenticated from storefront, or by help of Active Directory. So the user profile is loading, and in the back end, GPO group policies processing logon script is happening through by using by after uploading the user profile. So what sort of drives, network drives users have is getting mapped, right? Print is getting mapped, and finally application is launching, right? Or VDI is launching. So this is the the process, enumeration process, how application or BDI launching for end user. So any question, Mr. Bhautik, because this is the last topic what I covered today. Okay. So any question for me?
Yes, I have a one question for you.
Sure.
Do you know what is virtual desktop infrastructure and is it provided by Citrix Zen Desktop?
Yeah, good question actually. I will appreciate. Yeah, so this VDI is like a product line from the Citrix itself, and they are providing VDI, same like VMware Horizon, another competitor for the Citrix. So their Citrix is also providing the VDI environment, right? By using the capabilities of Citrix Zen Desktop environment, right? So you can publish your desktop, okay, like take example of Windows 10, Microsoft Windows 10 desktop. You can publish it, and you can provide those VDIs to your to your customers by by publishing, or by hosting those VDI into the Citrix environment, and by using the your backend hypervisor capability, VMware or your Citrix hypervisor, or you might use uh, Microsoft Hyper-V actually. Yes, of course, Citrix is providing that VDI infrastructure. So thank you so much for asking this question. Any other question, Bhavik, before we wrap up?
Thank you so much for a wonderful session today, Ratnesh.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure, my dear friend. My pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.